Hi, everybody. This is Maxine Taylor with my June 2019 Trumpology report. Today is May 31st, 2019, and I'm glad I waited until the very end of May to do this Trumpology report because, as we all know, Mueller presented a summary of his findings from his report just this past week. And so from now on, that is the kick in the rear that we are going to see, the results of that. We're going to see that played out between now and the 2020 election. It's going to be very interesting. I want to mention to you that I see June as a preparatory time for the two eclipses and the retrograde Mercury of next month, July. So you're going to want to stay tuned because I'll have lots to say, whenever we have an eclipse. It's a powerhouse time. However, June is no slouch. Let's talk about Trump's chart, shall we? Because the Democrats and the Republicans are all, should we impeach, should we not impeach? We all know what Mueller said very clearly, and he turned everything over to Congress. And so let's just take a little look here at what's going on in Trump's chart. Okay, and I will need my glasses. So, we start with the sun, which is the giver of life. It is the center of our universe, and it has been in Trump's 10th house of his public image and his career. Now, we know that because we've studied his career. Very rebellious, very unique, very innovative. North, that's Uranus, North Node, the area where you can achieve your greatest success and learning. This is for your edification. And the sun, which is our ego, that's the center of life. And so this is what Trump excels in demonstrating. So I'm going to start with the new moon. The new moon, of course, is conjunct the sun. And the new moon is on June 3rd. The sun is in the 10th house, lighting up his career, bringing him center stage, which is what he wants. The sun natally in the 10th house just says, just spell my name right. Give me the attention I need. I am the leader, acknowledge that. So the new moon sits on Uranus. Uranus is the rebel. And right around June 3rd, which is just a couple of days from now, we can expect, now I hear some of you saying, I know what you're going to say, Maxine. You're going to say we can expect rebellion and the unexpected. Yes, I am. But you may also remember early on when I started doing these Trumpology reports, I said, we ain't seen nothing yet. And of course, so many things have happened where we've said, I can't believe this is happening. And I keep hearing in my head, we ain't seen nothing yet. So here we go. On the 3rd, the new moon sits on Uranus, and you can expect rebellion big time from Trump. And the new moon is where things begin. So it's in his career house, in his 10th house. Now, on the 8th, the sun sits on Uranus. So the new moon starts things going. And it does trigger Uranus, but on the 8th is when the sun, the giver of life, sits on the rebel. And we can expect the unexpected. I know so many of you are saying, what else could happen? Well, we will see as this unfolds, because remember, now with Mueller making his presentation on national TV, the information is out there. And it's a question of what the Democrats and the Republicans decide to do about it. Okay, moving along. On the 11th, the sun sits on his north node. Now, this is very helpful to the person on the spiritual path, because this is the point at which you learn the lessons and receive the rewards that you've earned. So on the 11th, that north node is triggered, and hopefully this will not only bring him recognition, but he'll use it in a positive way. Then he has his solar return on the 13th and 14th, between those two dates. I didn't do his solar return chart. I'm just looking at his forecast. The sun is the ego. And it's something that I'm going to share something with you that I have not seen in any book. When the sun returns to its exact position in our birth chart, which it does once a year, it can be 2 days, up to 2 days before the birthday to 2 days after the birthday. That is when our new year, our new life begins. What I've seen, and I've experienced it and observed it, the sun is the ego. And so as the sun is sitting on our sun on our birthday, we want the attention. Our ego requires the attention. In Trump's chart, it's in his 10th house for the entire world to see. It's him as a leader acting like he thinks a leader should act. Get ready. Okay? Between the 13th and 14th, he'll feel it a day ahead. In other words, actually he'll feel it 2 days ahead, because the sun will be on his north node. And the north node allows you to step forward into an arena that you may not have addressed before in past lives. The south node you have. Now I'll get to the full moon in a little bit. So we can expect all kinds of massive attention-getting techniques from Trump. And that's just how it is. Now, on the 20th of June, the sun enters his 11th house. The 11th house deals with friends and hopes and wishes and group activities. And the biggest group that he deals with, or will have to deal with, is Congress. Now, he does have friends, and he will probably spend time with them, I would say, at Mar-a-Lago, etc. I know he considers Kim Jong-un a friend, so that may be in the picture. I don't have his agenda, his travel agenda, but we know that if Kim Jong-un is nice to him, he is very positive and toward Kim Jong-un, and considers him to be a friend. Okay, on the 30th of June, the sun sits on his Mercury. Mercury is what we think about and talk about. It's how we communicate, and his Mercury is in the emotional sign, the very sensitive and very psychic sign of Cancer. And so he will be speaking his mind coming from an emotional place. And you might say, well, he always does that. Yes, but the sun is triggering it big time. Now, the full moon, that's when things come to a head, okay? The full moon is on June 17th. And I don't know if I gave you the degrees. For those of you who study astrology, the new moon, you probably know this. The new moon on June 3rd is in 12 Gemini 34. The full moon on June 17th, I've rounded it up to 26 Sagittarius. It is sitting in his 4th house of home, family, real estate, and all things that provide emotional fulfillment and security. Okay. The full moon sits on his moon. Now, his moon in Sagittarius. Wherever the moon is, that's where we look for our emotional security. It triggers a very strong emotional protective response. So the family situation is triggered. It also sits on his south node. And the south node is what we have mastered in past lives. And if we spend too much time there in this life, it drains us. In some books, it is the area of loss. I don't think of it as loss, but in a public figure such as Trump, that is what it could be. Some problem relating to family, whether it's indictments, whether it's real estate situations that now come to light with Russia, because we know that he had real estate aspirations with Putin in Russia. So that's the sun. Let's look over here at Mercury. Now, Mercury is what we think about and talk about. Mercury is not an action planet. It's a thinking planet. It's what we think about. It's what we talk about. It's communication. It's, you know, when you decide, for example, you're going to go on a diet, and you tell all your best friends about it over, you know, Mexican dinner, and a margarita, and you say something like, "Well, I'm going to go on a diet tomorrow." It's you talk about it. You don't do it, you talk about it. Does that make sense? Okay, so Mercury is in his 10th house of communication. It's been there since May. And so he's talking from a position of leadership. And you might say, well, he's always doing that. Well, now it's even more so because of the Mueller report, the Mueller's version of the Mueller report, where he told it the way he wrote it, not the way Barr chose to interpret it. This Mueller statement came straight from the horse's mouth. Okay. On the 4th of June, Mercury moves into his 11th house of friends, hopes, and wishes, and group activities. Okay, again, Congress is the biggest group that he has to deal with. It can also be his cabinet, but it's any group activity. So on the 9th, Mercury sits on Mercury, so there's lots of communication with communication, talking to friends, talking to people, maybe getting votes, getting agreements, but lots of communicating with groups, with friends, Congress, senators, Congress people. Okay. Mercury sits on Saturn on the 20th. Now, Saturn is reality. Saturn can be restriction. With Mercury on Saturn, he's talking about power, he's talking about leadership, and he may be speaking to people in power, the leaders of the different groups in his life, because we don't want to rule any of them out. And so there's lots of serious communication, making agreements, because Saturn, among other things, rules his 7th house of relationships and contracts and agreements, rules his 6th house of work, health, and service, and it rules the interception of Capricorn in his 5th house. So there can be deals made relating to speculation, maybe even his children. We'll throw sex into the mix because we know that's part and parcel of his history, his work situation, and just his contracts with other people. Okay, then Mercury sits on Venus. Venus is the lesser benefic. It is love, it's what you love, on the 22nd. And so he will feel good about his communications by the 22nd. He will deal with leaders and as a leader with groups, and by the 22nd, he feels happier because Venus rules his public image, midheaven, Taurus. And then on the 29th, this is very interesting, Mercury enters his 12th house of behind-the-scenes activities. And all the conversations that went on here in the 11th house take place behind closed doors. It is what it is. Okay, let's keep on going. Now, Venus, the lesser benefic. Venus is love. Venus is happiness. Venus brings money. It brings popularity. It's been in his ninth house. And so the ninth house of long distance travel, communication, the big picture, and he has enjoyed himself in his travels. Venus. Now, the other people may not have, but with Venus there, Venus is what you love. He loves to travel. He loves to meet with other leaders, and he has. On the 4th of June, Venus enters his 10th house. And Venus, now remember, what I'm saying is not necessarily what is going to manifest in your chart as relates to Trump. I'm just looking at his chart. Does that make sense? Because some of you feel very, very deeply and don't understand how something can be beneficial when it's not beneficial to the country. I'm talking about the way it shows up in his life and the way he sees it. I hope that makes sense to you. All right, so Venus is in his 10th house and he loves his position as leader. On the 23rd, Venus sits on Uranus and he has fun shocking us. He has fun dealing with contracts with other people because Uranus rules the 7th house of contracts. And with his work situation, and he's enjoying the limelight. And you might say, well, he always enjoys the limelight. He loves, and that's true, because look at his 10th house. By its nature, Venus adds to this, and he's happy. Now you might say, well, does that mean the rest of us are happy? No. I hope this makes it clear to you. So he's feeling good. He's saying things off the wall, making contracts and agreements as the leader. And then on the 25th, Venus sits on that beautiful north node, and it does enhance his public image. And remember, his base is going to feel this too. The people who support him and love him will support him, love him, and it will encourage him. And then when Venus sits on the sun, this is a very loving time for anybody. In his chart, with the sun in the 10th house of I'm the leader, this brings him to the attention of the public in a way that makes him incredibly happy. And Venus is, the sun is his chart ruler because it rules his Leo ascendant. And so he's the dominant figure and loving it. Okay. And Venus stays there the rest of June. Let's talk about Mars. Mars, war, passion, fighting. It's what you hate. It's what you fight for and fight with. And it's in his 11th house of friends and group activities. Oh, you mean where the sun is? Yes. The sun is in his 11th house. Mercury is in his 11th house. And Mars is passionate. And so he's fighting mad. He's getting down to business. He's fighting with leaders and to be the leader in any group to which he belongs. Now, just think about the implications of this. And that will be on the 20th and 21st as he goes toe-to-toe with those in authority. And I don't know who that would be. I don't know what political party that would be, because, with Mars in his 11th house, he can turn on a dime. We don't know what's going to be going on at that point. Who is going to be involved at that point? I should say, we know what's going on. We just don't know who is involved. And I'm looking to see, yes. Look at this. Mercury is on Saturn. He's talking with leaders on the 20th. And then on Venus, the 22nd. So lots of communication with leaders. Mars is fighting with them on the 20th and 21st. And then with Venus, the people on his team, the people he loves, on the 24th. So we've got both Mercury and both Mercury and Mars sitting on Saturn and Venus. And what this means is there can be arguing, fighting for leadership, with leadership. And Venus rules his midheaven of his public image and career, and his third house of communication. So we may see some active fighting, arguing going on with friends and groups and all that. So, so that's June. I hope this is helpful for you. I know that some of you are following along and checking off what I'm saying, because as the months move forward, the things I'm saying make sense. I'm keeping it very, very neutral. And if you will read between the lines, you hear exactly what I'm saying. So, dear friends, thank you so much. So many of you have been so lovely and so supportive with your comments. And I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much. And July, 2 eclipses and a retrograde Mercury. Oh yeah, June is the preparation for July. And remember that those July eclipses will be strongest 3 to 4 months later. July, August, September, October. Fall. So stay tuned, because we ain't seen nothing yet. History is truly being made. And so, dear friends, wherever you are on this planet, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours. Bye for now.